Greetings everybody, Richard Fulmer here, and welcome to another Richard's Rock Rambles, the 50-year-olds. And these are bands that have been around, well, the albums have been around for 50 years, which is, some of these things that I'm doing, I can't quite believe that these albums are 50 years old. You know, you sort of cast your mind back to when you bought them originally. I think I was in my teens for most of these albums that I'm chatting about. But yeah, that's just the way time goes. So the first one we're going to chat about is Bachman Turner Overdrive. That's right, Randy Bachman and his brothers. Well, in fact, the one brother had left when this album came out. Of course, he'd been with the Guess Who previously, with Burton Cummings. And the album we're going to chat about is this one, Not Fragile. You know, Bachman Turner Overdrive released a few really good albums, but for me, this is the top of the pile. If for nothing else, the great riff sound on the guitar that Randy Bachman gets on this album, along with the other guys in the band, you know, they just had a particular sound. For all intents and purposes, they weren't a crazy band out on the road. They were quite subdued. They weren't party animals like some of the bands that supported them, but they released some really cool albums, and this is one of them, Not Fragile. And this was released in August of 1974, and it would also be the first album to feature Blair Thornton on the sort of second guitar, and who replaced Tim Bachman, who was the brother of Randy. So there's the back. I think that's Blair Thornton. Well, that's Blair Thornton over there. And that's Randy Bachman. And I'll tell you who the rest of the guys are in the band. Let's see here. C.F. Turner on bass guitar and vocals. And he was the guy with a really gruff voice, as opposed to Randy Bachman's, who you could do the sort of higher level stuff. Randy Bachman, lead guitar and vocals. Blair Thornton, second lead guitar and background vocals. And Rob Bachman, drums and percussion. Really cool drummer as well. And Frank Trowbridge played slide on the track Blue Mountain. Produced by Randy Bachman. Recorded at K. Smith Studios, Seattle, Washington. And yeah, of course, these guys are from Canada. Another one of the great bands from Canada, along with Rush and all the rest of it. And on the Phonogram label. So there's the shot of the guys live. That's Randy Bachman over there. And that's, I think his name was Ted Turner. And there's Blair Thornton, and there's the brother Bachman on the drums behind there. So, like I said, this album's got some cool riffs in it, some pretty heavy stuff actually. Starts off with Not Fragile, which has got a brutal guitar riff. Solos from Randy on the left and Blair on the right, so that's quite cool. You've got your headphones on, you can see who's doing what solo. Second track, Rock Is My Life, and This Is My Song. A bit more subdued, not as heavy as the first track, but a cool song nonetheless. And that vocals are done by Randy. The first track, Not Fragile, is done by Ted Turner, the bassist, or C.F. Turner. Roll On Down the Highway, and solos by Randy. Second one, Fuzz, it says here, Fuzz guitar by Blair Thornton. And that was written by Rob Bachman. Then you got, of course, the track that everybody knows that became a massive hit off this album. Probably the band's biggest hit, You Ain't Seen Nothing Yet, with that sort of stuttering vocals. I'm not too sure. I know there's a story that goes along with that song, but yeah, that became a massive hit. And it ends off side one with the track Freewheeling. Really cool stuff on this album. Nice production too. Just want to have a bit of a drink here. Cheers, guys. It's been blisteringly hot here in Cape Town today, so I need to cool down a bit. We go on to side two. Kicks off with Sledgehammer. And trust me, that track is a sledgehammer. Huge riffs. Vocals with Randy and Ted Turner. And then the solos are Randy and Blair on the right. Also written by Randy Bachman. Another really, probably my favorite track on the album, simply because of its heft. Blue Moanin'. That's the next track on side two. It's got a kind of a bluesy feel to it, sort of slightly more commercial vein. Second Hand, and then Giving It All Away is the final track. So yeah, I reckon if you're new to Bachman and Overdrive and you want to get a really good album of theirs, this is a good place to start. Not Fragile, love that cover there. Apparently, one of the stories go that they called it Not Fragile because in the year before, the progressive English rock band Yes had released an album called Fragile. So they wanted everybody to know this is not Yes type music, this is not fragile. I don't know if it's true, but that's the story. Second album we're going to have a look at. This is the debut album, and these guys had been, I think, together for a while. In fact, the singer on this album was not the original singer. And I'm talking about the very first Judas Priest from Birmingham in the UK, and the album Rocka, Rolla with that take on the Coke bottle top there, Coca-Cola, Rocka, Rolla. I believe there was some issue with the Coke company about this, but they seem to have ironed things out. There was a second cover to this, an alternate cover, which came out in the States. And that had some sort of demon thing with bombs, carrying bombs. Not as cool as this. I much prefer. I'm quite glad I got this. I've had this for some time. So in the band you had the lead singer then, not the original guy. He wasn't. I'm trying to think of Al Atkins, I think, was the original singer of Judas Priest. Still alive, I think. And on here he's listed as Bob Halford as opposed to Rob Halford, which everybody knows today. John Hinch on drums. This is the only album, their first album, that he would appear on, and then they would go through a succession of drummers. Ian Hill on bass, of course, is there till today. Glenn Tipton on guitar. Sadly, he's no longer a sort of a touring member of the band, although he does still write songs for, I know he appears on the new album that's going to come out soon, next month in March. And KK Downing, of course, is no longer with the band on lead guitar as well. KK Downing guitars, Glenn Tipton guitars, synthesizers, and second vocals. Ian Hill bass guitar, Bob Halford on vocals. He also plays the harmonica. All the singers back in the day played the harmonica. Robert Plant, Ian Gillan, a whole lot of them. And John Hinch on drums. This is not British Steel. This is not Screaming for Vengeance. This is not Leather and Studs. This is them right at the beginning. I mean, you can see there's old Rob Halford. Still has a nice lot of hair there. And there's Glenn Tipton. There's KK Downing. Used to wear a hat as one in the early days. There's John Hinch. And there's Ian Hill. If you think about Rob Halford, the way he looks today, he looks like a bald Father Christmas with a nose ring. Very different look today. I'll just go through the tracks quickly. There's, like I said, this is them finding their feet. The second album, Sad Wings of Destiny, would be a massive leap forward for them. On a very small label called Gull Records. 1974, of course. One for the Road, and all these songs are written by Downing, mostly for KK Downing and Rob Halford. I'm trying to think. Al Atkins is also listed on here, so the original singer has got some songwriting credits on here. Then it's the title track, which is okay. Winter, Deep Freeze, Winter Retreat, and Cheetah, which is probably the best track on that side one. Side two, Never Satisfied, which is okay, quite a cool rocker. I think this album also suffers from production, although produced by Roger Bain. Now that name may ring a bell. He was involved with the early Sabbath stuff, first album and a few afterwards, and he would be involved with Judas Priest for quite a few years and quite a few notable albums as well. Anyway, Run of the Mill was the next track, and that's 8 minutes long. Some fairly lengthy tracks actually. On side two, Dying to Meet You. And then the last track, which is a very short, although I believe there is an extended version. I think I saw that on YouTube. The track called Caviar and Meths. Quite a combination. And that's only 2 minutes long on here. And that's an instrumental. And that songwriting credit also goes to Al Atkins, Ian Hill, and KK Downing. As I said, produced by Roger Bain on the Gull Records label. Recorded at Olympic and Trident and Island Studios in London during June-July 1974, the very first Judas Priest. And this is, it's very different to what they would become. But all bands have a starting point. And Bob Halford and the rest of the guys went on from strength to strength, although John Hench, of course, disappeared after this album. And I'm trying to think who the drummer was on the second album. I can't remember now, but I know on the third album, Sin After Sin, as a one-off, was Simon Phillips. He played drums, and then Les Binks came into the picture, Dave Holland, and then Scott Travis, of course. So that's the second one, Judas Priest's Rocka, Rolla. Like I said before, many times, if you're a collector, like I am, you want to get from the beginning right up until the most recent. There we go, guys. This coming weekend, just want to let you know, I'm going off to a vinyl fair. So what I thought I'd do in my next video is chat about what I find. Always interesting what I find at these fairs. That's part of the fun of it. The other part, of course, is meeting all the people I don't see for ages, and then I catch up with them at the vinyl fairs, not after seeing them for months and months and months. So that's quite cool as well, catching up with old buddies and work partners, etc. And yeah, we'll see what I find. Down below, give us a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't yet. Thank you very much for watching. And yeah, we'll catch you again soon. Have a good week. Bye-bye.